Mary, Queen of Scots, was the only legitimate child of James V of Scotland to survive. She became queen at only 6 days old following her father's death. During her childhood, Scotland was ruled by regents, first by James Hamilton, the Earl of Arran, and later by her mother, Mary of Guise. Mary was betrothed to France, the Dauphin of France, and sent to France for her safety at the age of 6. In 1558 she married Francis, becoming Queen Consort of France the following year, but by December 1560 she was widowed. Mary's return to Scotland in 1561 was a moment of high intrigue, set against the tense religious and political climate after the Scottish Reformation. She initially governed pragmatically, retaining advisors like her half-brothers James Stuart and William Maitland. In 1565 she wed her half-cousin Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley, and they had a son named James. However, their marriage was not without its challenges, especially after Darnley arranged the murder of Mary's secretary, David Rizzio, adding a layer of personal suspense to her rule. This event led to a significant shift in power dynamics and further complicated Mary's rule. Mary sent William Maitland of Lethington to the English court to advocate for her as the heir presumptive to the English throne. Elizabeth, however, refused to name a successor, fearing it would lead to plots against her. Despite this, she assured Maitland that Mary had a strong claim. Plans were made for Mary and Elizabeth to meet in England in late 1561 and early 1562, but the visit was cancelled due to the civil war in France. Mary began to look for a new husband among European royalty. Her uncle, the Cardinal of Lorraine, started negotiations with Archduke Charles of Austria without her approval. It infuriated Mary and caused the talks to fall apart. Her effort to marry Don Carlos, heir to King Philip II of Spain, also failed. Elizabeth tried to neutralise Mary by suggesting she marry Robert Dudley, the first Earl of Leicester, as an English Protestant and Elizabeth's trusted favourite. Elizabeth promised to recognise Mary's claim to the English throne if she married an English nobleman. However, the proposal fell through as Dudley was unwilling, a clear indication of Mary's political manoeuvring and the complex challenges she faced in securing her position. Meanwhile, Pierre de Boscolord de Chastelar, a French poet at Mary's court, became infatuated with her. In early 1563, he was found hiding under her bed, intending to declare his love. Mary was horrified and banished him, but he returned 2 days later, forcing his way into her chamber. Mary, terrified, called for help, and Chastelar was arrested. He was tried for treason and executed. Maitland later claimed that Chastelar was part of a Huguenot plot to discredit Mary. In February 1561, while grieving Francis's death, Mary briefly met her English-born half-cousin, Henry Stuart, Lord Darnley. His parents, the Earl and Lennox Countess, were Scottish nobles and English landowners. They sent Darnley to France under the guise of offering condolences, hoping he and Mary would form a match. Both Mary and Darnley were grandchildren of Margaret Tudor, the sister of Henry VIII. They met again on February the 17th, 1565 at Wemyss Castle in Scotland. Mary fell for Darnley, whom Queen Elizabeth called the Long Lad due to his height of over 6 feet. They married at Holyrood Palace on July the 29th, 1565, but without obtaining a papal dispensation for their first cousin marriage. English statesman William Cecil and the Earl of Leicester had arranged Darnley's travel to Scotland. Still, Elizabeth felt threatened by their marriage, fearing the potential claim their offspring could have to the English throne. Mary's marriage to Darnley, a leading Catholic, provoked her half-brother, the Earl of Moray, and other Protestant lords like Lords Argyll and Glencairn to rebel. Mary left Edinburgh on August the 26th, 1565 to confront them. Moray entered Edinburgh on the 30th but left soon after, unable to take the castle. Mary returned the following month to gather more troops. In the chase about Raid, both sides roamed Scotland without direct combat. Mary's forces strengthened with the release of Lord Huntly's son, and James Hepburn, the 4th Earl of Bothwell, returned from exile. Unable to gather support, Moray fled to England in October. Mary expanded her Privy Council to include Catholics and Protestants, trying to stabilise her rule. However, Darnley soon became arrogant and demanded the crown matrimonial, wanting to be a co-sovereign of Scotland. Mary refused, straining their marriage. By October 1565, Mary was pregnant, but Darnley's jealousy over her friendship with her Catholic secretary, David Rizzio, caused further tension. Rumours had spread that he had fathered Mary's child. By March 1566, Darnley secretly conspired with Protestant lords who had previously rebelled. On March the 9th, Darnley and his co-conspirators killed Rizzio in front of the pregnant Mary during a dinner party at Holyrood Palace. The following 2 days saw a dramatic change in alliances, with Darnley switching sides and Mary welcoming Moray at Holyrood. On the night of March the 11th or 12th, Mary and Darnley escaped to Dunbar Castle before returning to Edinburgh on March the 18th. The former rebels, including Moray, Argyll and Glencairn, were reinstated in the council, marking a turbulent period in Mary's life and reign. This tumultuous period marks Mary's reign, filled with political and personal betrayals. However, it also highlighted the resilience and strength she displayed as a queen, navigating the treacherous waters of 16th century Scotland and England, inspiring admiration in the audience for her unwavering determination and courage. Mary's son by Darnley, James, was born in Edinburgh Castle on June 19, 1566. However, the murder of Rizzio led to the breakdown of her marriage. In October 1566, while staying in Jedburgh, Mary made a remarkable journey to visit the Earl of Bothwell at Hermitage Castle, where he lay ill from wounds. Although accompanied by counsellors and guards, her enemies later used this ride as evidence of a romantic relationship between Mary and Bothwell. After returning to Jedburgh, Mary fell seriously ill. She experienced frequent vomiting, loss of sight and speech, convulsions, and periods of unconsciousness. She was thought to be near death, but began to recover on October the 25th, thanks to her French physicians. The cause of her illness remains unknown. In late November 1566 at Craigmillar Castle, Mary and her leading nobles discussed the problem of Darnley. Divorce was considered, but the lords likely swore a bond to remove Darnley by other means. Darnley, fearing for his safety, left for Glasgow after his son's baptism, where he stayed on his father's estates and suffered from a fever, possibly due to smallpox, syphilis, or even poison. In late 1567, Mary convinced Darnley to come back to Edinburgh. He recuperated from his illness in a house at Kirk of Field, just inside the city wall. Mary visited him daily, hinting at a possible reconciliation, but on the 9th of February 1567, Mary visited Darnley before attending a wedding celebration. But in the early hours, an explosion devastated Kirk of Field, and Darnley was found dead in the garden, apparently smothered. Suspicion fell on several individuals, including Bothwell, Moray, Secretary Maitland, the Earl of Morton, and even Mary herself. Elizabeth wrote to Mary about the rumours, expressing concern and urging her to seek justice for Darnley's murder.
I should ill fulfill the office of a faithful cousin or an affectionate friend if I did not tell you what all the world is thinking. Men say that instead of seizing the murderers, you are looking through your fingers while they escape, that you will not seek revenge on those who have done you so much pleasure, as though the deed would have never taken place had not the doers of it been assured of impunity. For myself, I beg you to believe that I would not harbour such a thought.
But by the end of February, Bothwell was widely believed to be guilty. Lennox, Darnley's father, demanded Bothwell be tried before Parliament, and Mary consented, but Lennox's plea to gather more time for evidence was rejected. With no evidence presented and Lennox absent, Bothwell was acquitted, following a 7-hour trial on April the 12th. A week later, Bothwell secured the support of over 24 lords and bishops by having them sign the Ainsley Tavern Bond, agreeing to support his aim to marry the Queen. This series of events marked a tumultuous and dramatic period in Mary's life, filled with political intrigue, betrayal, and tragedy. Mary visited her son James at Stirling for the last time between April the 21st and 23rd in 1567. On her return to Edinburgh on April the 24th, she was abducted by Lord Bothwell and his men and taken to Dunbar Castle. It's believed that Bothwell may have raped her there. By May the 6th, Mary and Bothwell had returned to Edinburgh, and on May the 15th they were married in a Protestant ceremony at Holyrood Palace. Bothwell had finalised his divorce from his first wife, Jean Gordon, only 12 days before. Mary initially thought many nobles supported her marriage, but tensions quickly arose between Bothwell and his former peers. The marriage proved deeply unpopular. Catholics did not recognise Bothwell's divorce or the Protestant ceremony, making the union unlawful in their eyes. The marriage to the man accused of killing her husband, Darnley, shocked both Protestants and Catholics, and the union was fraught with turmoil, leaving Mary increasingly despondent. Several Scottish peers known as the Confederate Lords rebelled against Mary and Bothwell, assembling their army. On June the 15th, Mary and Bothwell faced the Lords at Carberry Hill. Still no battle occurred, as Mary's forces dwindled through desertion during negotiations. Bothwell was given safe passage while Mary was taken to Edinburgh. At that location, crowds accused her of being an adulteress and murderer. The next night she was imprisoned in Lochleven Castle. From July the 20th to the 23rd, Mary endured the heartbreak of miscarrying twins. On July the 24th, she was forced to relinquish the throne to a 1-year-old son, James. Her half-brother Moray became the regent. Bothwell was exiled and eventually imprisoned in Denmark, where he lost his sanity and died in 1578. These events mark a dramatic and tragic period in Mary's life, characterised by betrayal, rebellion, and profound personal loss. Eventually, Mary fled to England, seeking protection from Elizabeth I. Yet perceived as a threat, Mary was imprisoned for 18 years and eventually executed in 1587 for plotting against Elizabeth. However unfortunate Mary's life was, it certainly cemented her place as a romantic figure in history. If you loved our video on Mary, Queen of Scots, you won't want to miss this next one. Click on the screen now to explore the untold stories and hidden secrets of another fascinating figure with a story to tell. Get ready to uncover more historical gems and intriguing royal tales. Your next adventure in history starts right here.